All right, guys, let's go ahead and talk about symbiotic relationships, or symbiosis is referring to the relationships among organisms in an ecosystem, and some of these are positive and some of these are not. In other words, some of these relationships benefit all parties and others do not benefit everybody. Some actually have a negative impact on species. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these different ones. So commensalism. Commensalism is one of these types of relationships in which one organism is benefited while the other one is not affected. Great examples here. We've got a white-tipped shark that is swimming around. He is completely unaffected by the fish that are swimming around him. There is no impact on the shark whatsoever. The fish are there because what they're doing is they're taking the scraps. After the shark eats, they're taking the scraps and consuming them for themselves. So the benefit for the fish is that they're eating, the shark is completely unaffected. We also see over here that we've got some sort of spider species that has placed itself in between the horns of this animal. So in this case, the spider has a place to live. It has a place to set up, while the deer species is just completely unaffected. That spider's not going to come down and affect the animal whatsoever. It's completely unaffected. So the spider is getting this benefit of having a nice place to live, and the deer species is completely left alone. All right, mutualism is where both organisms benefit. In the case of the clownfish and the anemones have this super stingy tentacles that come off of it that the clownfish is immune to, meaning it doesn't affect the clownfish. So the anemones provide a great place for the clownfish to live because fish of other kinds can't get in there, and so they don't bother the clownfish. Now, in turn, in the other side of that, the clownfish are actually willing to go out of the anemone and bat away some other fish that might come in and try to hurt the anemone. There are some fish that don't get affected by the anemone, and the clownfish help kind of combat that. Now, and also in the other one, we've got this hummingbird and the flowers. Now, we know what this one is. The hummingbird is there gaining food. The hummingbird is out there taking nectar and it's gaining food. At the same time, it's pollinating for the flower. So the hummingbird is gaining food, the flowers are gaining pollination, so both organisms here are benefited. On the last one, we've got parasitism, and this is where one benefits and the other one is negatively affected. The easiest one and most common one that you guys can think about is mosquitoes. Mosquitoes, they land on your skin, they take a bite of you, and they get your blood, and so you are negatively affected because they put some sort of small venom inside of you, which causes you to swell up a little bit and can have some sort of reaction to it. Whereas the mosquito just gains food. That's all they're getting from it. They're benefiting and we're responding negatively to it. Now these ones over here, this one with the ladybug down here is kind of crazy. This is what happens when a wasp comes down and is a parasite to the ladybug. It kind of turns the ladybugs into like a little bit of a zombie. Essentially, the wasp lays its eggs inside of the ladybug, and then the ladybug develops this sac on the bottom side of it, and it just carries around the wasp the entire time. And then the ladybug ends up protecting the wasp cocoon until the wasp is ready to come out, and then the ladybug is dead because of it, but the wasp had a perfect place to be born. So that is definitely a form of parasitism. And then the last one that we might not be thinking of that is also a form of parasitism is viruses, right? If we look at this picture up here, those are viruses inside of a body landing on top of a cell. Viruses are a great example of parasitism because they're gaining all the resources that they need from you to reproduce and to continue on with their lives, whereas, well, it's questionable whether or not they're alive, but they're able to continue on and continue to make more viruses, but it obviously affects you negatively. Okay, so these three types of relationships are very important to understand the difference between. We'll recap them real quick. We've got commensalism, in which one organism benefits, the other one's not affected. We've got mutualism, in which both benefit. And then we've got parasitism, in which one benefits and the other is affected negatively. All right, guys, if you need any questions answered for this one, you hit me up, you let me know, and we'll go through it again. Thanks, guys.